Okay, so that's the class schedule. I will update this so we have class Thanksgiving week, but we will be off Christmas week. That's going to slide everything down 1 week. All right. So with that, we're going to be talking about, of course, boundaries. We talked about the boundary types last week. And so when you're thinking about this, we're going to be talking about setting healthy boundaries. I'm going to be giving you some strategies to use today and what it looks like to have healthy boundaries. But some of us missed last week's class, and so you didn't know what your scores were. And so Shelley, you were right here to loose. Is you and Des were here on loose. And that means people with loose or spongy boundaries are unsure of what to keep in and what to keep out. Sometimes you use limited boundaries and sometimes you use rigid boundaries. So you're kind of not sure of your boundary lines is where that is, okay? I think everyone else that's on the line was here last week so that they know what their boundary is. If you took the test, if you didn't take the test, then, you're just kind of here for the ride. So when we talk about boundaries and limited boundaries, the Bible actually speaks to this about it being a lack of self-control. Lack of self-control and fear tears down your borders, leaving you unbound and unprotected. So that is said in Proverbs 25, where it compares a person without self-control as a city without walls. And that's what we've been talking about. The walls of your protection being torn down and letting people in or out, leaving you vulnerable for attack. And that's what these loose boundaries do. Or limited boundaries, they tear the walls down around your home, around your protection, and therefore you begin to let people in and out of your life that you shouldn't. 2 Timothy 1 says the spirit of fear impacts your power, love, and your sound mind. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. But sound mind is also translated self-control. So these are the two biblical reasons. So this isn't just a natural thing, it's a biblical thing that talks about self-control. A man without self-control is like a city broken into, left without walls. That's what boundaries are described as in the Bible. So when we're talking about issues that we have, we're going to have to talk about self-control. And that is one of our topics that we have that someone will cover. Someone asked to actually cover that. I think his name is Mike, asked to cover that. He doesn't come to class anymore, but we'll still cover that self-control topic. And so what is self-control? When you look at this picture, you have things out of your control and you have things in your control. We are talking about setting boundaries with things that are in your control. Things are outside of your control. You can't really control it, and so you got to let it go. So self-control is the ability to regulate your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors, in face of temptation and impulsion. And it's also critical for achieving your long-term goals. Sometimes we take short-term methods and it messes up our long-term goals. Self-control says, I won't have to have it now because on the long term, I know that I can get it. But when you begin to break boundaries to get a goal because you want it now, that's when you begin to forfeit your boundaries. Self-control is seen as a defense against temptation and ungodly passion. So we have to understand that biblically, if you're thinking about the Bible, self-control is going to be very important for you to keep boundaries. Lack of self-control entered at the Garden of Eden. So this is not a new thing. The boundaries were crossed, and biblical boundaries continue to be ignored. We can think about marriage boundaries that are violated. We can think about moral and spiritual boundaries that are ignored when you talk about the Ten Commandments. So boundaries is not something that's just a natural phenomenon. It's something that the Bible does talk about, that we have to begin to understand boundaries and want to honor and respect them. Really what we're going to be talking about, the Bible commands us to control ourselves. And it teaches us to say no. And so we have the right to tell people no. And no isn't a question. You have to use no as if it's a period. You have to make a stand and stand by your no, just like you stand by your yes. But if you lack self-control, your no's become spongy. Boundaries protect us from those who have no self-control, and they also protect us from people that wish to control us. A person with clear, healthy boundaries communicate to others what is and is not permissible. That's what a healthy boundary says. This is what you can control. This is what I can control. This boundary you cannot cross because you're entering into my space. In effect, when we talk about boundaries, as it talks about the Bible way, it talks about the jurisdiction or the authority that you have and the rights that you have, that people do not interfere with your rights or who you are. Now, we're going to put that into more of a natural sense so that hopefully I can give you some real life examples, and I'm going to give you kind of a worksheet for you to work through. And so it's going to be important for you to understand the steps in this worksheet, because I want you to fill out your own worksheet for your own boundaries. So if you have questions, this is the time to ask them, because this is when you're going to start writing up your own boundaries. You don't have to do them all this week, but we want to start taking a shot at it. So remember this from last week. We talked about what keeps us safe. And so I'm using this as a picture for you to talk about boundaries. And these are my definitions. And so this is what I've done. Over here was an A. What talks about it was private. It is private to your next door neighbor, but this private place for the next door neighbor is public to you. And so you can't call this boundary over here your boundary. So I made this a public area because for you it is public. It's private for him. You can only control what's in your space. This is your boundary line. And with a boundary line, you have an entry point. And for me, 5, this neighbor, is a casual friend. So this comes down to here. This is a friend. Maybe I hug my neighbors. Maybe they're close to me, but they're not in my space. So for me, a casual friend becomes my 5. Okay. Everyone else above this is really public. They're really not part of my space. They're not part of my coming into my internal and external boundaries. You have to make definitions, because I think one of the things people said is you're either a 1 or you're a 7. And what this is hoping to do is try to get you to think about breaking this 7 layers up into something that's meaningful for you. So what I've done is I said, C is my entry point. C is the place where they can come into my personal space, my private area. I have to determine what my entry point. My entry point for me, and this is what you're going to determine what your entry point is trust. Everyone that's a 6 or above are people that I trust. I let them inside of my boundary. I let them inside of here. Everyone else, I don't necessarily have to trust my neighbor. He's just a casual friend. I might see him now and then. They might be building to that point. And that's what you have to understand for your boundaries. From level 1 to level 5, you have to have decision points and when you're going to let people closer and closer and closer in. And we're going to try to help you with that, give you some strategies to think about that. But as you think about your boundaries, your private space, for you, what is your entry point? Do you know that? How do people get inside of your private space. Do you know that right now? Anyone?
If you, I'm sorry, if you like do something that shows me that I can rely on you more than just once. Like if after 2 or 3 times you showed up for me, that's when you can come in.
Okay, 1 or 2 times
2
is
or 3 times.
2 or 3 times.
It has to be a pattern of you saying you'll do this and you do this.
Okay. So you might keep that in mind when you're doing your thought process about C is your entry point, being reliable. That might be one of the places that you're going to put on your boundary sheet. And we're going to tell you how to show you how to fill out that boundary sheet. Anyone else?
I guess mine would go along with that. Somebody who's reliable, that if they say they're gonna do something and they actually do it. So for me, that's important as well.
Okay.
I don't know how many times, but I mean, I think after a few times when you realize that they're not showing up or that they're not coming through, then you kind of just know.
Okay. Anyone online?
For me, for me, it's about consistency. Like you have to consistently show that you're interested in me, like interested in getting to know me and like understanding how I operate in order for me to open up.
So words like consistency and 1 or 2 times is going to be a boundary that you're going to have to see if that really is going to work for you. Is 1 time enough? Is 2 times enough? Is 1 month enough? Is 6 months enough? Like, what does that look like? 1 or 2 times over 2 days, 1 or 2 times over 2 months, 1 or 2 times over 2 years. You see how consistency has a different meaning depending on the context that you're using. And so when you're setting boundaries, you have to know for yourself, what's that time frame? What time frame are you giving people to prove themselves? Go ahead. Somebody online? Okay, go ahead, Amanda.
I don't think that it's a blanket like a blanket thing for everyone. I think for me, everyone is different. Because if you showing up for, let's say, rain holds more weight than you saying that you're going to come over and walk Bella. You're still showing up. You're still, doing the thing. You're still showing that you can be reliable. But obviously, rain means more to me than Bella. So it's not. I can't say that it's the same. It's going to be the same for everybody. It really depends upon what it is, honestly, that you're doing.
And you can set your boundaries up, and you can use these boundaries by using Amanda's example. These levels can be whatever levels you're defining as being closer and closer. When you get to the place where you're talking about rain, you're talking about somebody that's pretty intimate. You
So
see what I mean?
A Bella would more so be a 5.
Correct. You can take her to a public thing.
Yeah.
That's how you're using these. Okay? You're using these to say where you're going to put people so that you can begin to see not everyone's a 1 or a 7. Now you're starting to get your mindset around, there are shades of different. There are different ways of letting people in. That's what we're trying to learn and discern. For you, what are these different numbers? This is my chart. But what does yours look like? That's what you're trying to build. Okay?
So is our chart supposed to look like this when it's done?
Well, you're going to have a chart that says you have a gate. You're going to have a chart that has, this is your private space. You're going to have internal and external, but maybe this isn't 6 for you. Maybe this is a 4 for you. Maybe 4 is going to be your entry point to let them in. So no, it doesn't have to look like this, but you have to determine if handshaking circle is enough to let them into your personal space. For me, it wasn't. And it's, go ahead.
What I'm more so asking is, like, are we putting the numbers, like, where these, like, the property line, yard, like, are we putting our numbers where it goes in this diagram, or are we supposed to make our own diagram?
You can put the numbers, like for example, in this diagram, 5 is a faraway circle. For me, my 5 is a casual friend. For my definition, I didn't just say a faraway hug circle. That didn't mean anything to me. What this meant to me was a faraway hug circle is a casual friend. What is a 5 to you? What does a casual hug person look like? And where does that person live in your diagram? So yeah, this is going to be kind of a visual for you to kind of think through the process of setting boundaries so that you know number 5 is a person that can walk my dog, but he's not one that can watch my son. Does that make sense, Paige?
I guess, kind of.
Okay, so what we're seeking to do, a man without walls is one without self-control. So we're trying to build walls around ourselves so that we can feel protected. Who are the people that we're letting into our walls so that we can now feel protected? Trying to think through that is another way of learning how you look at your own boundaries and, more importantly, how you set them. Because you're going through this exercise to think about what you would do, how you would possibly do it, and who would be in that circle. Give me that. And we can work through it and talk through it. If you need help, you can always ask me questions.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on this one for anyone else?
Yeah, just looking at it, I feel like I have more than more than just one. Is that okay to have like 2 or 3 that are on there? Like you have trust, and I feel like there's maybe a couple for me.
Oh, okay, you're talking about for your entry points?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see that these boundaries all have meaning. What does A mean? What does these borders look like? We're going to see what those borders look like. Trust is just, for me, if I don't trust you, then you can't come in through these A's, because the only way to come in is through my front door. If you're coming in this way, you're coming over the fence. That means you're a thief. That means you're dishonoring me or disrespecting me. You got to come through this particular way. If you have 2 or 3 different ways that people can come into your personal space, you're going to have 2 or 3 different definitions on what that entry is, and you're going to work through your sheet to tell you what those things are.
Okay.
Space, you mean not just the home, personal space, but your space around you.
Who's your friend? Who are you telling your secrets to? Who were you confiding in? We're just at the borders of our house. We haven't gotten to intimacy yet. We're just trying to figure out who to keep out and who to keep in so that remember, boundaries are about feeling safe and secure. If someone's making you feel like unsafe or making you feel like the hair at the back of your neck is rising up, they should not be coming through your entry point. They should be out there. And if they're making you rise up, they should probably be more like a 1, not like a 4, because they're creeping you out. This scale is helping you think through the people that you're letting close in and what criteria you want to use to do that. Okay? I'll give you some more examples. I just used this as one example. Let's continue to think about this. What is a boundary? A boundary is what divides one person from another so that each person can separate their identities, responsibilities, and privileges. That's what you're thinking about when you're thinking about your boundaries. The space between you and another person. When you have unhealthy boundaries, you have a problem where they begin and where you end. We're trying to define that fence so that you know where you end and your responsibility is and where the other person. A boundary is healthy when it defines expectations and clearly shows respect for others. So this was kind of a 3-step, it's actually 4-step process that I'm going to ask you to think about in setting your boundaries. And I'm going to give you a table. Paige will send that out to you. But the first step is for your sanity, your mind. What you value at the core of your being. What's important to you? That's going to be your first one. And I'm going to give you some examples. The next question is, what need do I have to make you stay or feel safe? That's your security. So sanctity is your mind. Security is really what's making you feel safe. It feels safe. I think Manda said about confidence or committed to, what was the word you used? I forget the word that she taught. If you do things 1 or 2 times, I'm confident that you're going to be there. That confidence makes her feel safe. What I do, I take ownership of myself. That's going to be your stop violation. So those are the only 3, and the stop violation, I broke it down into 2 sides, what you can control and what you can't. But those 4 things is going to set up your boundary statement. And I'll show you some more. I'm going to go deeper. This is just kind of looking at. This is one author's boundaries. I value my peace. I need lots of time for care, and I limit, this is what you're going to stop, how much time of myself I give to others. So that's a 3-stage boundary statement. Okay? So sanity is what I value. Your security is what makes you feel safe, what you need. I need time for myself. I need quality time. I need freedom to make my choice. That's a need to make you feel secure. And then the stop violation is what you're going to limit to stop people from violating your needs and trumping your value statement. Okay? This is how you're going to set boundaries. I'm going to give you some more examples. So if you don't get it yet, I'm going to keep giving you some more examples. So these are some examples. What you value at the core of your being, your sanity. This is your fundamental stance of your belief system. So what you value, you want people to be godly. You want them to have a prayer life. You want to feel appreciated. You want to be respected. You want to be loved. You want willingness to do something. You want honesty. These are things that will keep your mind stable, make you feel like, yes, this is in my core. I want to be respected. And at my core, I want to be loved. This is my core belief. This is something I'm willing to fight for. Then what you need, this is really your security, how you feel relaxed. I feel relaxed when I'm respected and not abused. And so my security is going to be at stake when someone's abusing me, or when I'm starting to feel depressed, or when I'm feeling anxiety. Anxiety is not a security thing. Peace is a security thing. And so you really want security with people that's going to make you feel peace. That's going to be part of your boundary statement. And then ownership. These are things you stop, and it comes in 2 things. I put it in 2 flavors. What I own and control, this is having you take responsibility for allowing or disallowing this thing in your life. The other side of this is I don't own this. I can't control this. This is your boundary. If I do this, I'm crossing over into your private space. I'm now doing a boundary violation because I can't control you. I'm going to give you more examples. So if you don't get it yet, I'm giving you my specific example for me. Okay. So this is my boundary statements using those 4 questions. What I value in relationships, I'm talking about emotional relationships. Remember, you can do boundary statement for financials, for relationships, for all of the areas that we talked about. You can use this chart to fill it out, to write a boundary statement for you. I value openness. Why do I value openness? Because trust. I need trust. I need to trust a person. I can control, if this doesn't happen, what I can control is my truthful communication. I can stop them. I can stop them if I know that they aren't communicating with me truthfully. I can have that conversation, but I cannot control them being truthful. That's outside of my area of control. I can only control my own truthfulness. Since I want trust and I want openness, my boundary, I have to have truthful communication. And when I find that they're not having truthful conversation, then I have to do something to stop them from, I don't trust them. That's going to be the bottom line. If they are not having truthful conversations with me, they don't come into my area of trust. They don't come into my boundary because I don't trust you, because their communication is not truthful. I'm finding that they're lying all the time. They're breaking my boundary of truthful conversation. They're not being open. So therefore, I'm not going to let you in my gate. Does that make sense? As an example from the house that I showed you.
Yeah.
Okay. Another value statement is holiness. I need respect. Oh, go ahead. Does somebody have a question? Okay. I need respect, and I'm going to stand firm on my belief. I'm not going to let people shake me from my belief. But I can't stop them from being unholy. I can't stop them from disrespecting me. But when they do, then they're not going to come inside my walls because you're not meeting my standard of holiness. You're not meeting my standard of respect. So you're not going to come into my trust circle. I'll still talk to you. I can still shake your hand, but I'm not letting you in my private space because you don't even respect me. So if you don't respect me, how am I going to let you in? You see how that works? Loyalty is another thing I value. What I need in loyalty, I relate loyalty to love. I forgive, but I have to rebuild that confidence because people will always make mistakes. You might betray me. I'm going to have to build my confidence enough, but I can't control their commitment of me. I can't control if they're loyal to me. I can't control that. What I can control is when I forgive them, I might push them out. I might not let them in as close because they're not loyalty. They haven't proven to be loyal to me. And so I won't even let you in that gate because you haven't proven yourself. This is going to take more than just 1 or 2 days. This is going to take a period of time for me to watch you. We're going to have some conflict. We're going to have some issues and trouble. I'm going to have to be in trouble and you're going to have to be loyal to me. You're not stabbing me in my back. All of those things I'm watching before you even come into the gate because these are things that I'm building for boundaries for what I'm letting in. If you can't even pass this standard, I'm not letting you in the gate. No, I'm not letting you in. Why? Because I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're not going to be loyal to me. Go ahead, Amanda.
These are all things for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So does one thing have to go with the other? That goes with the other, that goes with the other? Meaning, can openness go with respect,
Oh, yeah.
go with confronted.
You can do it. This is what you're going to make up. This is just mine personally.
No, I'm saying for you personally.
Okay.
Can open, like, can you mix and match these things, or is it this, this?
For me, when I was thinking through, let me show you this to let you see how this plays with my borders and see if that answers your question. When I talk about love, it was one of my borders. Remember I said trust is my entry point. Honor. Okay, this back fence being honor. Well, you're not going to honor me if you're coming in my back fence. That's dishonor. You're going to want to come through my front door. Do you trust me enough to come around the front and come meet me fully? I'm missing respect. Respect should be here. Respect. My neighbors should respect me. I don't want them throwing trash over my yard. And by the same token, I want other people, when they're coming at me, to respect me enough to come through my front door. Love is going to now be another entry point to now come into the place of my intimacy. And so this is how I built these walls around me and what these walls mean. So when you ask me, can these things be intertwined or changed? Yeah, you can change these things, but they're still going to have the meaning for the walls of my house. Okay? Does that answer the question better?
So, what you need, not speaking for you, just so I can figure out when I'm writing this. What I need is going to be bordering my house.
Yes, that's your boundaries
So
to
then,
feel safe.
is value is any of these other sections anywhere on this chart, on the diagram with the picture of the house, or is it just the what you need category?
I just put what I need there. That's what I need to feel secure. Remember, gates and boundaries are for your security. And so for me to feel secure, I need trust, I need respect, I need love, I need unity, and I need honor. Those are the walls that I need and the entry point I need to feel secure. Secure enough to let you in my boundary. And how those needs are actualized is I put my value statement and what's in my control and what's out of my control.
So honor is in your back fence, but you said that you can't honor someone that comes into the back.
Right. So are you going to honor me enough to come around my front door? If you're going to climb over my fence, that means you're going to dishonor me, which is going to be a boundary violation on them. But that's going to tell me I can't have that person because I'm going to kick that person out because they've dishonored me.
What would be an example of coming in the back door?
Somebody that dishonored me. So, calling me out of my name. I tell you that, let me see, what's a dishonoring thing?
I said dishonorable.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and you know, the easiest thing I could think about, if you have a border of honor and that's your security, and someone's dishonoring you by calling you out of your name, by touching you when you don't want to be touched. I tell you no, and you're going to go try to force yourself. No, that's dishonorable, and I have a right to exert my control over my personal boundary because you've now violated me. I'm going to tell you that honor is important to me, and this is how you're going to treat me. No, I'm kicking you out. If you were in, probably I would find out if that person even honored me before I even let them in.
So now when you say that, I can see how the value section goes with the I need section, because in this value honor scenario, when you show a person that you value them, you're honoring them.
Yes.
When you teamwork and unity are kind of one and the same, so I'm seeing how they work together. So in that sense, it seems as if they can't be then interchangeable, because
What do you mean?
I mean, I guess yeah, you value being valued and therefore you need trust, but it seems like that goes more with the honor.
Oh, what you're saying is I can't put openness in the honored line? Is that what you're saying? Because they don't go together?
That was my original question.
Oh.
Can you say, I value loyalty because I need love in order to, because I don't know how you say it, but forgive, build, like you can't interchange them like that. But now that we're here, I see why maybe you can't, because the first two sections work hand in hand together.
They do for me. When you say, can they be separated? Maybe they can be separated for you.
So okay.
Because you have different things that keep your mind safe and what you need. This is my need. What you guys are going to do is work through yours.
Well, I like this because it's very clear. It's my mind is very black and white. So it gives you if this, then this, versus if this, then this, or maybe this, or maybe that. That's confusing.
Yeah. That's why I tried to keep it very simple so that you can have one thing. And also, since you guys have issues with, I see your hand, Des, with what you can control and what you don't, I wanted you to actually think outside of the box and say, what can't you stop? What can't you control? What's outside of your control for your need? So that you can start thinking about that. So if you're a controller, for example, you're going to be trying to control their communication because you're a controller. So not only you're going to be trying to have truthful, you're going to make them be truthful. That's outside of your boundary. That's how come I added that one, because people have that issue. Okay, go ahead, Des.
Okay, so working on the boundaries and being really clear in using these boundaries right now. I am dealing with somebody who, when I say something that is my boundary, like an example, hey, I don't want to be spoken to in that manner. It is disrespectful. Can we not have that in the future? Or I will be blocking your phone number, something like that. And then the person that I'm trying to talk to, which I have to talk to because of co-parenting, but basically doesn't see the same disrespect when I'm saying that's disrespectful to me of how you're doing this, or in many examples is like, I don't know if it's just when I express a boundary, that person is not seeing it at all in the same context that I'm trying to give it. So I'm really struggling. Like, I'm holding my boundaries and I'm getting a lot of attacks and a lot of things coming at me, and I'm keeping my calm and just doing my thing. But what do you suggest when you're dealing with somebody that's coming in every single back door, window, every chance, every corner that they can to try to get in and try to just disrespect every single thing that you're saying? They're not even seeing it. They don't really, they don't really care.
So I feel like maybe this isn't going to answer your question, but I feel like, in the terms of co-parenting with someone who tends to be disrespectful at every opportunity that they have. I personally don't have any type of parenting plan or anything to the courts, right? So that makes it easier for me to enforce my boundaries. Like, if you're going to disrespect me, if you are going to cross these boundaries, then that access to my child, you're not going to have that access. Because we're supposed to be co-parenting, but we're not co-parenting here. if essentially you're kind of just getting what you want when you want, because you think that you being a parent allows you to do and say and get away with whatever. So I've personally enforced that, like, no, if this is how you feel like you're gonna talk to me, then this is how it's gonna be with our child. And it works, I mean, at least for my person. Obviously, they're not perfect, and it doesn't always go the ideal way, but it's improving. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's some of the things I've been working on. But yeah, it's a struggle right now because even the term co-parenting has a very wide range of definition for this.
For sure.
When it's convenient for them, it's ready to co-parent, but when you need something or there's things going on, co-parenting, there's no reply, no communication, nothing.
No. This is what it's about. Everyone's sharing. The real thing about person that's not respecting your boundary is to be firm on your belief. You can't change theirs, but you can be firm on theirs, and therefore it's going to be consequences for you standing firm on your belief. That's kind of the same thing that just said.
It sucks. You don't want to be like, well, if you don't do this thing, at first how I was looking at it as like, I was using our kid as the leverage piece, right? But that's not what it is. It's not, because we're parents, we're individuals separately from being parents. And in order to get in, with the boundary, Raymond is in my 7. So in order to get that 6, in order to get past that gate, you still have to respect me. I don't care what your title is. You don't automatically get into my house just because you're a dad, a grandfather, an aunt, an uncle. You know what I'm saying? You have to respect me because our kids see that. Our kids see that if we're being disrespected, oh, mom is allowing this, so that's okay. And that's not the example that we want to show to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's very hard, because we don't want to withhold the parent from the kid, because then that's going to be on our conscience. But you got to choose.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add anything to help that question out? Okay, so we're going to build our house. For homework, I want you to write 5 boundaries that will be the walls and the entry to your house. You're going to use this model to help you talk about your value, your need, what you control and what you don't. And we'll go over that next week. If you have problems and you want to keep something blank because you don't know how to fill something in, you can either send that to me by Sunday, so I can help you fill that out. So I'm not thinking about this the day of the event, and I can have some time to think about it to help you. And I'll send that back to you and see if that works for you. And then we can go over this so that we can see our boundary statements.
So our homework is just doing this picture.
This sheet here.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it says that will be the walls and the entry.
Yeah. This is the need here. But I want you to try to think about the whole thing.
So essentially we're writing 5 boundary statements.
Yes. Yep. Amanda, what she showed is she asked, and you can use this picture to help you with that so that you can know, kind of what you're letting in. Like I said, this is my version of what's coming into once you're in my private space, you still got another thing you got to do to get into my intimacy. Okay. That can kind of help you frame your boundary statements. Okay.
Not sorry. Going back to that slide that was states, I think
Nope.
there was only 3 on there. Do you want our boundary statement to
The
Be
states
three, go with one forward.
forward.
Okay, do you want our boundary statement to just be these three, the states, or go the extra and do that fourth of?
Yeah, the fourth. Yeah, the last state in my picture, this is what I control. This is what I don't control. I want you to put both of these states so that you can think about, because we have people that want to control the situation. I want you to think about what's outside of your control so that you can be kind of thinking about that when you want to violate somebody else's boundary. You want to be able to stop yourself, because remember, boundaries are about self-control. What good is it for you to say, I'm controlling things in my boundary, but I'm not going to control things that comes to you. You can just forget about it. I can step all over your boundary. That's not fair. That's a violation. And so when thinking about the violation of you, think about the violation to them. Yes, Shelley.
So that, what you just said goes back to kind of what Des and Amanda were talking about,
Mhm.
how you're working on setting your boundary, but when you're dealing, and you're not trying to cross other people's boundaries, you're just trying to get them to respect yours.
Yes.
And so,
You want them to respect yours, but you gotta respect theirs too. If they don't have any respect, if they have no honor, that's not one of their boundaries. They have something else, but that's not it. Because or maybe they do, that maybe they want respect, maybe they want honor, but by dishonoring you, it's not gonna get it to them. Right?
yeah, you have to figure out the negotiation of how you're gonna do that.
And this is really, we're in this state. Des is in this state where she's with this person, or you have a person in your life that it's going to be hard to change the rules of engagement when the boundaries have been all squished and stuff. But now that we're trying to do something different and transform our life and our mind, it's going to be hard for that person to realize that you're changing the rules of the engagement of your relationship. And they probably won't like that. But that doesn't mean that it's not something that you should do, because you want healthy boundaries and it's got to change. And I'm going to give you I give you some conflict things to do, some strategies. Yes.
I think I lost my thought.
You lost your thought. Okay.
Because I think that's probably the hardest part. I love when you said it's the change, you wanna do it differently. And you're working on changing that outcome, and you're working on it to be a different way than it's always been. So the conflict part that you're gonna help us with will help us learn the tools to work with someone who's had that complete opposite that now you're trying to change.
Yeah, if they choose to work with you, you can have that conversation. But if someone's not even going to come to the table and they just want to violate you, then you're going to have to escalate them to somebody said, to cut them off, to block them, or to stop having the child. I mean, you have to now do the proper escalating to let them know that I'm serious. That this isn't just, I'm just saying this and now I'm brushing it aside. You're going to have to up the consequences to let them know that you're serious about your change. And that's going to be hard
It's gonna be hard, because then you have to be prepared for what's coming.
for the fallout.
Right. Yes.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I like that. When I read the thing about saying no,
Yeah,
when you done said yes all the time, and you say no to people, people actually get mad at you for saying
Yeah.
no to them. So that was a hard one for me, but I mean, doing it now, that's the boundary that I need to set. When I mean say no, I just mean no.
Yep, no is not a question. No is a period.
Nor does it need any type of explanation behind it.
Yep.
Just, no.
Yep. Okay. By wisdom, a house is built, and by understanding, it is established. So you have to build your house, and you have to be the one to establish. And by knowledge, Rooms are filled with the precious and pleasant riches. We're going to get to the rooms of intimacy, get into the rooms. Hopefully we can get into those places so that you can understand. Right now, we're just trying to get the outside boundaries, but once you come inside the house, there's boundaries there too. And that would, how would that look once they get past your front door? There's going to be rules there too, but let's just work on the outside walls. I think if we get that, that'll be sufficient. Okay, so this is just how my walls and stuff are set. Trust is proven to me by being faithful, dependable, friend or family member. Honor is shown by coming in by the front gate. I've told you that before, not climbing in the back way. Unity is walking in agreement in public over a long period of time, which shows loyalty and commitment. And so I'm not walking, unity is not established with one or two things. It's established with years of walking with me to say that we're now unified. Respect is the boundary line in my beliefs, my lifestyle, my personal space, friends and family. And then my love, of course, is forged by healthy conflict resolution, covenant, and quality time spent together. And so those are, love becomes another gate into my place of intimacy. I'm not going to let you into that place of intimacy without this type of healthy love that is established to come inside. Okay, is that a question?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. So those were my personal, mental, and emotional boundaries and my private space. Any questions on any of those? Does this help you guys do your homework? Okay, so this is a conflict resolution. There's two conflict resolution strategies. This is like a textbook, name the issue, jointly identify. This is probably, both of these were with people that are willing to work through conflict with you. If they're not willing to work through conflict, you can't have a conflict resolution with somebody who doesn't want to work through conflict. And so an easy one I thought was easy is 5-5-5. You get 5 minutes, they get 5 minutes, and then finally we share together and discuss the situation together without arguing. Yes, Paige.
I was on mute. So do you think there's a way to see how someone resolves conflict without getting in conflict? Like, do you think there's...
No, you don't have to explain it. Conflict is not a bad thing when it's healthy.
So I know, I'm asking more so how they'll deal with it.
You won't know how a person deals with it until you get into the conflict. That's how come part of a relationship and part of coming closer to me in those 7 layers, I have to have a conflict with you, or else I'm just in the honeymoon stage when everything's all great. Everything's great in the honeymoon stage. It's not until you have conflict and you begin to resolve conflict, that's how I determine if you can come closer. If you don't want to talk about it, if you get huffy and you want to keep sweeping it under the rug, you're not coming closer because you don't know how to resolve conflict. You just want to push everything aside and not resolve anything. That's going to be on a range of my boundary because I need to be able to have that open communication. That was one of my boundaries.
I think that problem solving will help you see how a person resolves conflict. Maybe not all the same because the whole idea of conflict is maybe they're upset about the situation or something, so the emotion might change the problem solving piece. But I think that it will give you an idea of how they approach something that needs to have a resolve.
Problem resolution will help you find out the resolve, but when you have conflict, that means you're rubbing up against a wound that you both have. And the reason why that wound is there is because of something that happened prior that needs to be dealt with. And is this the person that's going to help you deal with those wounds? Or are they going to not help you? That's what conflict will help you do, to see. Yeah, you can see some stuff from problem resolution, but if I have no skin in the game in the problem resolution part, I can tell you to do anything because it doesn't really affect me, and I can just think outside of a box because, well, it's your choice. It's when they have skin in the game is when this conflict resolution will really help you determine if they're really a friend that will stick closer to you than a brother, is one that even through conflict, I'm still going to love you and I'm still going to be there for you. If you're close to me and you're in my gate, I've had conflicts with you and we've come out stronger, not weaker. Does that answer your question, Paige?
Yes.
Okay. So these are two conflict resolution strategies for you to look at. This is another kind of rule for how do you draw people in, because this is trying to address the problem or the issue of you're a 1 or a 7. This is the stages of relationship, and this is another model. One is the stages of relationship in the picture, but this was a model I thought was interesting, psychology. It talks about 3-6-9, and this is true. It's actually more than 3 months is a honeymoon stage. Generally, particularly after you marry, the honeymoon stage lasts longer than 3 months. But when you're first meeting people, 3 months is probably the everything's happy and you're loving each other. After the next 3 to 6 months, 4 to 6 months, you're probably going to have a conflict and you're going to have a challenge. How are you going to work through that sixth stage? And then around the 9th month, this is the time where you're going to have to evaluate the long-term potential of that relationship. So I thought that this was a good model for you that says 1 and 7 is the same, that maybe this could be a way that you can look at relationships, to how you draw them in. The next page is giving you a little bit more detail on the 3-6-9. And it also is showing you another picture of the stages of relationships. This is another stage model of how you can kind of build that relationship to draw people in. So you can read these models as strategies to help you draw people in and to help you with the conflict resolution. Any questions on either of on that? The last one is for those who are spiritually minded. I've given you a biblical pattern. Well, I made this one up, called Pure, which is really how you can spiritually be aware of what you're going through. Pray for guidance. Ask God for help and wisdom. Understand your worth. You have to understand you have value to Christ, and not from opinions or approval from others. You have to reflect and define. Take your needs and your limitations and your boundaries. Begin to reflect on those things that really matter most to you, and so that you can begin to understand that what's really important for you, and make sure what's important to you is also important to God. And then eliminate fear. It takes faith to confront people who want to violate your boundaries. But you have to eliminate fear so that you can face the fears with faith and clearly state, when you're going through this pure model, what's the worst that can happen? I know Amanda, when, she can always think of the worst thing that can happen. It's like, Amanda, I'm right here. But think of the worst case that can happen and then say, well, how will that impact me long term if the worst thing happens, if they do the worst thing? What are the pros and cons of that? And am I willing to take that risk? Or what am I going to do when I take that risk? So this is another model for self-awareness when you're setting your boundaries that you can use to help you with your value and your belief, okay? So these were just a couple things I wanted to throw in there to help you with your strategies to get through. And so these are the keys for me, these are my keys for relationship. Friendship, someone I can talk to and be myself with. Fun, someone who enjoys what I enjoy. Fulfillment, someone who helps me reach my purpose as I help them reach theirs. Fidelity, someone who upholds the covenant with me and the Lord. So that's going to be important. And then faithfulness, someone who is first faithful to God themselves, then their family and friends. If they're faithful to all of them, they will honor and respect me because they've been faithful to them. And so, do you have keys in your relationship that you can say, these are the things that's really important to me? Because holding these truths for yourself as keys when you're setting boundaries will help you so much to stay out of conflict with people, because you're not letting people in so quickly. You're keeping them at arm's length, and they can act crazy all they want to if they're my neighbor. There's no really impact to me. And it eliminates so much stress from me when I can set my boundaries and I'm like, well, they can do whatever they want. It's cool. But if everyone's a 7, I'm going to be stressed all the time because I'm trying to control and manipulate all this stuff. So these keys are going to be important. I'm not asking you to write keys. I'm just sharing. These are different things that you can do to help set your boundaries. These are different strategies. So you'll have these things. And in closing, I am unbound. When you're unbound, it's really three words. You don't set boundaries because you fail to know your value. You fail to know what you need. You fail to set limits or take responsibility for what I own. And you fail to release responsibility when it's not in your control. When I fail, I'm unbound. That is a life without boundaries. So that's kind of my statement that I wrote with the states of being of your boundary statements. If you fail to do these things, your outcome is going to be a life out of control. Okay? Any questions on any of that? No. No, we have all those classes we have to do.
That's what I thought, it just said end of series.
Oh, did it? Oh, I probably had that from the other tape. I'll take that out. Any questions, comments, concerns? Cal?
Just Charlotte, after you are done, do you have a second I can chat with you for a minute after the class?
Do you want it to be in the open, or you want me to call you?
Yeah, if you'll call me just for a minute.
I'll call you.
Thank you.
I guess I could. Father, we thank you for the day. We thank you for this time and for this time of understanding our boundaries and the states that we're living in. We pray that you give us insight into setting our boundary statements. We love you, we honor and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.